adding power demand, adding the entire ERCOT power market in the next 5 years in the US. Is that what we need to get ready for?
Yeah, if I may, and good morning to everybody. It's very honored to be here. If I can, kind of dovetail what my colleague mentioned. If we look at the last roughly around 10 years, we had the data centers and cloud computing. Energy demand has been growing quite in an exponential manner. If you put all the data centers today in the world, their total consumption is equivalent to the country of Japan. That's how big is this industry. Recently, in the last 19 months, slowly but surely, AI started picking up. And the demand of AI, what we are seeing right now is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this demand. And it's going to come fast from a consumption of electrons. That abundance of electrons will be required. I've been using this metaphor for a couple of weeks and people like it, so I hope I can resonate with you guys. The example you gave about the utilities, kind of saying this is going to come, but it's not as fast. The ultrascaler saying it's going to come fast. The ultrascalers and also the AI learning machines, I would say, they are on a sprint. They want to have every electron that they can put their hands on so they can win this sprint race to enhance their market share and also have better products to sell to the customers. Unfortunately, the utilities are in marathon. They like to take their long time to develop their long infrastructure that will run for 30, 40 years. And there is a disconnect between the two. And that's something I really admire our ultrascalers, friends like Amazon and others, who are now, they've been sitting on the fence watching, and they are running out of patience, I would say.
Yep.
And they want to lead. And that's why you see RFPs and in the market acquiring who can come and partner with them to give them the lion's share of abundance of electrons.
So in fact, nuclear has been brought up. If we think about just the generation part of things, Mohamed, is nuclear renaissance, is that real?
I will touch on that in a second, but just to comment on our colleague from Amazon. What you see today, by the way, the consumption in 2024 of data centers here in the US has been roughly around 43% gas, 19% from nuclear, and 17% coal. So these are the biggest energy production that data centers in the US here in 2024 have been consuming. So on nuclear, what I see a huge potential of providing abundance of energy, and this is something that in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, we built 4 reactors, and they're generating roughly around 40 terawatts of hours annually, and it's been one of the best base loads that we have in the UAE, which opens also the opportunity for data center AI, and UAE has been leading in the Middle East when it comes to data centers and AI. One thing I don't want to skip, I think you mentioned at the opening the deep-seek energy consumption. As an electrical engineer, I did my bachelor degree some time ago, programming and coding. So at that time, we had the 486, and the future was the Pentium and the rest of processors. The more processing, the more engine, the bigger engine you have, the bigger you can do with. One cylinder compared to a V8, there's a lot of potential what you could do from that power. And when it comes to the AI, that you could do algorithms, and generative AI consumes a lot of processing power, and that processing power needs a lot of electrons, and that's the abundance of electricity will be a key pillar for success. And that's why today, if you look at the real data, into 2024 in the US, 40% gas, 19% nuclear, 18% from coal.
All of the above approach, yeah. Then what are the biggest challenges for each of these options here? Anyone? Maybe we can...
If I may just to also comment on the points mentioned about gas. If you look at the technology, by the way, and thanks to GE and other also vendors, efficiency of gas turbines have gone dramatically up. So roughly around 60%, which was 20 years ago was unheard of, which is a great development in technology, and that's opens the gap. As an individual, I've spent my career 26 years in the utility sector. I totally agree. We need all of the above. With this current demand, we spoke rightly about AI. Looking at the US AI, reindustrialization, bringing industry back to the US, will need abundance of electrons, and that's why all of the above required. And looking at the data in the US, 40% gas, 19% nuclear. Nuclear, the beauty of nuclear, it runs 24/7 and provide that base load for gas to run. You mentioned about the technologies of nuclear. For me, I see the proven Gen 3 reactors, the big reactors. There's an institutional knowledge, accumulated knowledge over 60 years on this technology. And this is what we've used in the UAE. You mentioned schedule. We did it in 8 years, by the way, in UAE, and that's as we managed to do it in a way that is in implementing best practice when it comes to project management and managing resources globally to be able to do this on a schedule and budget. This is something we've learned in a way that is innovative way to be able to do it on time and schedule. And looking at today at the ultra scalers, they want to move, and they want to move fast. And this is something I frankly, personally resonate with the thinking of the Silicon Valley of getting things done, than the old utility way of doing it. And I go back to my marathon versus sprinting. I hope we go from full marathon to half marathon with the utilities and bring them to the requirements of ultra scalers. And yesterday was announced that the ultra scaler have joined the pledge of tripling nuclear. And that's something, for me, if you ask me, last year, that would have been very difficult to even imagine. Today is a reality, and this is something happening very, very fast. So to your question, I think all of the above will be required to meet the exponential demand we have, and we need to work together as to collaborate and cooperate on how we can serve the data centers, serve the industry and the growth that is happening here in the US.
Back to the challenge, though. Challenge, Mohamed. What's the biggest challenge? Let's say nuclear.
Across the board, the challenge is the realization of what is coming in next quarters of demand. Is it happening or not happening? And that's something puts bankers, lawyers, technology providers, to go and buy the raw material to be able to commit. This will be a challenge because of lack of uncertainties that is with different speed of thinking. That, from my view, if we can have a better visibility in policy, strategy, regulation, all that, so people can buy equipment, utilities can sign contract. I'm coming all the way from UAE to here to come and invest in the US, and I want certainty and clarity of investment. Yeah, if I may comment as electrical engineer, also the challenges happening to you in your homes, other than prices and bills of electricity, also the quality of power. When you have sources of energies which is comes in and out, and you have data centers that consumes in certain neighborhoods more energy, it affects your devices at home, because you could have harmonics, which is disruption or lack of quality of your power you get at home, that can affect the age of your devices at home. So there's a lot of challenges that I'm sure GE will come up with innovative solutions to be able to conquer that. But these things are happening, and this is where the utilities need to catch up, and they need to innovate, and they have to be faster, and they're identifying those problems, solving them, and technology providers to provide those solutions.
So, Mario, you talk about some of the options to solve the challenges. Let me open it to the whole panel too. What is the first step? I mean, yesterday announcement about the Nuclear Alliance, that's one partnership, that's collaboration, but that's not the only one. And we need to bring a lot more players into the mix, right? What's the first step that we need to do?
If I may add to your point, Scott, I totally agree with you. And that's something we've seen in the UAE. When we build the reactors in the UAE, we built 4 reactors. The first 2 compared to the last 2, the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 3 and 4 were 40% less labor, less cost, less rework. And this is something this industry needs. Scalability needs repetition of gas turbines, of nuclear, of whatever is available that we can replicate and be able to address Mario's point when it comes to manpower, resources, supply chain. That's required, and that's the challenge that we need to all think about. And that's the point I mentioned earlier. We need to cooperate and collaborate in a way where we can bring the best of technologies and really deploy them as soon as possible, replicate that until the innovative technologies come and do catch up to be able to provide the abundance of electricity.
Mohamed, you talk about demand uncertainty before. If that uncertainty get realized, meaning the demand actually is not as much as we expected, what's going to happen to all that infrastructure investment?
If I may, I want to give credit to the ultra-scalers, frankly, because they've been waiting and they are now acting, getting into action by themselves. So to answer your question on uncertainty, I give credit to the ultra-scalers because they are taking charge and taking lead and to find solutions to this big infrastructures that require that they need to power their cloud computing and also the AI. So one of the key solutions, and that's why I'm here in Houston for a whole week, to meet with ultra-scalers and also technology providers to find solutions that we can quickly structure, be able to finance, make it bankable, so we can provide those solutions. And speed of an essence, and the demand is there. The demand for electrons, abundance of demand of electrons, from my view, it is here and it is starting from yesterday.
In fact, you mentioned other regions, and I throw these questions back to the rest of the panel too. US obviously is getting a lot of attention here, but do we need to watch out for any other regions in terms of new demand centers?
AI is in UAE, and specifically in Abu Dhabi, we are having a very, very high growth of data centers, 700 megawatts equivalent of I think beyond one single turbine, like a turbine and a half from GE. It's a matter of less than a year. And that's how fast this is coming. And if you compare, because we always compare infrastructure, development, let's say you build a small city, it takes 10 years to develop, so utilities can catch up, they could build infrastructure, you could build buy the technologies to power it up. That scale doesn't work with today's demand. These data centers, they are built, 6 months to a year, they are switched on, and they are consuming electrons. And this is where the ultra-scalers are looking for. And looking in UAE, I've seen data centers are being built up in a record time, and they are being switched on, and they're consuming electrons as we speak. I'm very happy we have 4 reactors operational today. By the way, in size, the 40 terawatt hours equivalent to the total electricity of Switzerland, by the way, the 4 reactors we built. They're big. They consume roughly the city of London production of energy. They are big, and that's why we are very well positioned to welcome data centers and also provide abundance of electricity from the nuclear reactors in the UAE.
If we think back into all the issues that we've discussed and the opportunity as well, looking at power demand coming from data centers, new data centers in particular, globally, what is the one word that will bring out the most important factors for the power industry to come together to support that demand growth? One word. Mohamed?
I would say speed. If we can get business done in the next 6 months to a year, to be able to find the right partners and not just sit there idle and watch maybe this is happening and maybe that doesn't happen. It is happening. The data centers demand is happening. It's growing very, very fast. And we need quickly to find the right partners to cooperate and collaborate to make those business deals. And I agree with you, by the way, on the points of partners. Will not be the conventional partners that normally will do those big infrastructures. Will have to be more innovative partners. They need to move fast, and they need to be able to structure the deals and hit the ground running, I would say. That's what we want from my side.